Everybody, Eric here from Action Yu-Gi-Oh! And today I have a very special deck profile. With me I have Mr. Timothy Rokket. And Tim, what did you do with this list here?
I went 6 weeks undefeated.
6 weeks undefeated. And you were playing at Cafe, correct?
Yes.
Now, the thing with Cafe is that Cafe is a mostly meta locals, so in a very heavy locals as far as the player base is concerned. So it was at minimum 5 rounds guaranteed, correct?
Yeah. Normally there's always around 30 people that show up every Friday. So
30 people,
always 5 rounds.
Undefeated for 6 weeks. So this deck is at bare minimum 30-0, correct?
Correct.
That's insane, man. So I wanted to sit down and talk to Tim and really get his overall opinion on this deck and like why he played some of his more interesting choices. You cool with that, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so my first big question is what separates this list from other Dragon Link lists? Because obviously this is Dragon Link and there's some really crazy techs in here.
So the difference in this deck is, other than the obvious, which is the build, I play a heavier Rokket package in this. I play a little bit more tech cards in this deck. Cards have really good synergy. As you can see, it's 45 as opposed to your normal 40. Mm-hmm. And that's just due to personal preference.
Yeah. I think the first thing that really stands out to me is the fact that you're playing Fallen of Albaz.
Yeah. The Fallen of Albaz has been one hell of a tech card in this build just due to the fact that what you're able to do with it is, it allows you to set up your erratic seal play to become a potential 3 interruptions based on what your opponent's playing. Other than that, it's, the Red Rain tech cards are great in it. And, just what this deck is overall able to do to play through so many interruptions, so many, hand traps. It's able to, pop off. I like to build more gas decks as opposed to more hand trap heavy decks.
Oh, dude, I understand that completely. That's how I build Code Talkers, and I absolutely love that deck. You did mention that you play a much heavier Rokket package. I noticed it's triple Tracer, double Recharger, double Synchron, and 1 Silver Rokket. Why so many Rockets?
So basically, what I always want to make sure, because, in your regular Dragon Link build, a lot of people only play the 1 Recharger, and then that's it. And to me, Rechargers is such a great card in this, and there's 2 potential ways that you're able to use it with this deck, but I wanted to always have a monster that I could special summon off of Rokket Tracer. Since I'm rocking 3 Rokket Tracers, I wanted to be able to have 3 level 4s that I could bring off of him to always go into a synchro play. Having a Rokket Recharger and not having another level 4 on field hurts. Not being able to special another level 4 because you wound up milling your level 4s with either Chaos Ruler, or you already used them all. It hurts. This way, it's like, cool, I still have another one. Not to mention, Silver Rocket's a great tech card in it, just because I rarely use his other effect, but people forget, like, your opponent has window on the field, and you're able to have Tracer, and Boot Sector. When you bring out Silver Rokket gains 300 attack off of the Boot Sector, so you're able to attack over the window to get it off the field. You just crash them, and then now you're able to continue your play. And then obviously the other effect from Silver Rokket being able to, look at your opponent's extra deck and banish, any extra deck monster out of it is also a pretty good tech, being able to take their Zeus out of their deck, their Dragoon out of their deck, whatever you think is going to hit them the most. It also gives you advantage to let you know what the heck they're playing. So.
Oh yeah, sometimes that knowledge is just enough in and of itself. I think that bleeds over into my next question, though. You're playing a lot of Rockets, and you are playing the Fallen of Albaz, and obviously that does a lot to your extra deck. I noticed that you're playing only 6 Link monsters, but you're playing 5 fusions. How exactly did that work out for you?
So the Link monster in this deck, I set it up to be Dragon Link is basically used to set up my graveyard, my field, my hand play. I'm using it because if you look at what the fusion monsters require and what they're able to do, and what, like Branded and White, what it does is that I'm going to banish dragons from my graveyard in order to go into my next fusion play. And you want to be able to have the resources in your graveyard to be able to use it. The Erratic Seals, so the reason why there's only so many Link monsters, because that's technically all you need to run. You get the because of chaos space, you can recycle technically every single extra deck monster if it's already banished, and then you put them back in your extra deck and then get the draw. But it allows you to set it up to have a bigger, just to be able to have a super poly target for each one of them. If you notice, like on one of the two technical Fallen Albaz targets that I run is Albion. Albion is just really, really good. He requires Fallen Albaz in any light monster. So you know when you bring out Fallen Albaz off Erratic Seal, you special them, then you use his effect discard. You can take their light monster, make Albion, and then Albion's effect will trigger on summon, which will allow you to fusion summon any level 8 or lower fusion monster.
It uses either player's field, so it's functionally super poly, right?
Yeah, Fallen Albaz is basically super poly. It takes one of your opponent's monsters and him, and it takes any number of your opponent's monsters so long as you have the corresponding fusion monster for it. So if you're playing the fusion monster that requires 3 darks, you can take 2 of your opponent's monster and Fallen Albaz has to be used.
Oh yeah, it includes this card. So I thought for a second if your opponent had like Fallen of Albaz, you could use your opponent's Fallen of Albaz. That'd be hilarious, but no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it would be. But yeah, so you're able to go into, like I said, so when you make your Albion, you already have Dark Dragons in your graveyard, and it says you can fusion summon a level 8 or lower. So Morolo Furious is a level 8 or lower. You're playing a ton of Dark Dragons, so you just banish any 2 Dark Dragons out of your graveyard, and then you get to special him, and then he's a quick effect. Target any monster you control, any card on your opponent's side of the field, and destroy them both. And it does not have to destroy both cards in order to resolve. But because of that, it's also great because when you bring out Albion, you pop Albion to pop one of their cards, and then on end phase, because Albion went to the graveyard this turn, on end phase you get to add or set a branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand.
Yeah, that further combos with Red Rain, doesn't it? Because like if you have a monster on the field that's unaffected, you could use you only need to target the 2, right?
And then the Red Rain, just because of the text, the way it worked, the Red Rain is just really, really strong in this card. It's one of your best power cards in the entire game, in this entire deck, just due to the fact that it states all you have to do is control a level 8 or higher synchro. And since 3 of your 4 synchro monsters are level 8, and all of your fusion monsters are level 8, you get to protect them all with Red Rain. And it says banish if you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can banish all monsters on the field other than the monster or monsters with the highest level. So you want to make sure, obviously, your opponent doesn't have a higher level. And remember, XZ's monsters and links do not have levels. So if they have, a rank 10, it still gets banished. It is not a level. But so basically, it'll be able to protect all your level 8s. It makes them, and then once it banishes everything, it says any monster not banished by this card is unaffected by all other card effects other than their own for the rest of the turn.
But they got to be face up in the field when this card's activated in order to gain that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the recur play with the Red Rain is if this card's in your graveyard, you synchro summon into a Dark Synchro Dragon, you can add it back to your hand. And since all your synchro monsters are Dark Synchro Dragons, you can always add it back. So if you mill it off of Chaos Ruler and then you synchro summon again, you get to add it back. It's also the Red Rain is also a free dump because if you open up with it and you go into Dragon Review, you pitch it from your hand for the cost, send whatever, and then later on in the combo when you synchro summon, you get the chain block because you'll synchro into Chaos Ruler, Chaos Ruler Chain Link 1, and since Red Rain's in your graveyard, it'll be Chain Link 2, add it back to your hand, then you mill.
Yeah, Torrential Tribute is really popular right now, and this is just a way, way better Torrential Tribute.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not only that, it's also, I mean, it can protect you from Torrential as well. It can also protect you from Forbidden Droplets if they don't send a trap. It can also protect you from Dark Ruler No More because they activate Dark Ruler No More, you chain your Red Rain, because mind you, it does not have to banish in order to resolve. So you just activate Red Rain, your monsters that are on the field are unaffected by whatever card they just used. So it works. It's actually, it's one of the most busted cards in the entire deck, I think.
Yeah, I know you've been using this card for a really long time because before this you were playing like a Buster Blade or Dragon Link build that was doing really well with Red Rain too.
Oh yeah, Red Rain is just it's a tech card that a lot of people didn't use. A lot of people don't even know about it. But it just has too much synergy with this deck in order to not have to use it. A lot of people are using Rivalry of the Warlords, which is a great card. Hurts a lot of people, but to me, I like this tech choice only because I'm able to get Red Rain into my hand, either through drawing it off of Nocto, triple tactical talents, or Chaos Space, opening up with it, milling it with Chaos Ruler. The fact that I can add it back to my hand the same turn it went to the graveyard, just as long as I synchro summon into a Dark Synchro Dragon, is too beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other question that I really have is you're obviously playing a deck that's as much gas as possible. You mentioned that before. You're only playing 3 hand traps. You're just playing triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. Why specifically Droll?
So Droll is still technically the best hand trap in the format. I'd say about 95% of all meta decks are going to add to their hand multiple times. Mm-hmm. Once they add, you Droll them. Also, people forget Droll is not once per turn. It's not even a hard once. So you activate Droll, and because now the new card, Cross Out Designator, and they chain Cross Out, or if they chain Call By or whatever, you can chain another Droll and still prevent them from being able to add cards to their hand. Droll in hit, like even against me, if they Droll me and I can't stop it, it's a lot of times it's a turn ender. It ends your opponent's turn. They don't get to make the board they really wanted to make with it. And that alone can, get you enough time to build your board, stop them, play through all their stuff. And then technically, triple tactical talents is a hand trap because, although I hate running counter, cards that require your opponent to do something, this card's too beneficial not to run it, only because they ask you, it's like, cool, draw 2. Oh, look, I drew what I was going to add anyways. Or against Dragoon. Oh, cool, you baited out Dragoon. I'll take your Dragoon. Now I'll, hit you with them. It's just too beneficial not to be running it.
Okay. Anything else that you want to mention about the list?
Basically, so if you look at the fusion monsters, some people before were asking, well, what if your opponent's not playing lights? That's the reason why I picked the fusion monsters that I picked. If your opponent, because Fallen Albaz does not require you to go into a Fallen Albaz Link or a fusion monster. It requires you just to be able to fusion summon using their monsters and him. So you have Albion, which is technically your best one. If your opponent's playing lights, you can take their light monster and make another fusion monster. If your opponent's playing darks, you can make Starving Venom with them. If your opponent's playing Dark Dragons, you can make Borlo Furious with it. And if your opponent's not playing any of that, that's what Iron Dash is in there for, because he just requires any effect monster special summon this turn. And I'd say 99% of all decks you're going to play usually will special summon something. So again, you go Horatic Seals, bounce back either something of theirs or bounce back your own card, bring out a special summon Fallen Albaz, fusion off their monster, and that. So the Horatic Seals play can be a potential 3 interruption, which is just very beneficial. And then having the Red Rain set to protect everything, but if you have everything set up, you're going to kill your opponent next turn, and there will be nothing they can do about it. Another cool interaction too, though, but with the Red Rain is that, again, it's not once per turn on field activation. So if you have 2 set, like you sided, you have the Nib in hand, and you built your board, and you have 2 Red Rains, you can activate Red Rain. And then if your opponent's able to play through it, you can activate Nib, and your monsters will stay on the field because now they're unaffected by Nib because of the Red Rain. And then now you tribute their monsters, and then if they play through that, you can activate another Red Rain, and then all your monsters will still stay on the field. And then another cool trick with the Red Rain is with Tidings. If you activate Red Rain, again, it makes all your monsters unaffected other than by their own. So now on end phase, if they set anything, you can go, cool, activate Tidings, target one of your dragons, target any card on their field, bounce it back. Their card will go back to their hand, but your dragon will stay on field because, again, Red Rain stated they're unaffected by all of the card effects. So it basically turns Tiding into a free bounce.
That's insane. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate you spending your time coming on here to talk about this deck. Are there any shout-outs that you want to give before we go ahead and end the video? Absolutely.
I want to give a shout-out to my teammates and my team, the Wise Guys. Great YouTube channel. Greg has always featured my decks on there. A lot of people have seen it on there. I want to give a shout out to you, Eric, as well, because you featured my decks a couple of times as well.
Whenever I see you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're good opponents. And give a shout out to all the places that have stayed that are open during this COVID pandemic. All the places that allow us to play in person. I really do benefit from them being able to stay open. And just all my opponents that I played, I've known they get tired of me winning, but it's always been a pleasure to play test against people and just have fun and just get away from this world for a little bit at a time. So.
Very, very cool. Very cool, man. You did mention to me before that there was a video on Greg's channel talking about combos with this deck.
Absolutely. So there's two videos on there. One is my original build of this deck because I didn't have a second chamber and all that stuff. But this was the most updated version that I was playing, which is now on your channel. But there is the combo video on his channel, which is the Wise Guys TCG on YouTube. It shows a God Hand combo with this deck and just shows you how you're able to just play through Nib, how you're able to, counteract your Nib, even if you get Nib on your follow-up turn because you wanted to overextend, how you can literally play right through it and still put up, 22,000 OTK your opponent. The combo is very, very good, and it kind of gives you an idea on how to play this deck. A lot of people don't understand it, but once you play with it and understand that Red Rain is your power card, that's the combo you want to go for. The combo kind of explains everything in detail.
I'll leave the combo video in the description of the video. Thank you again for coming on, Tim. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate it.